I talked to you guys a bunch about AI yesterday. Super excited to continue that conversation. And we have a special thing for you at the end as well. So I know some of you have seen the Meta Ray-Bans. They're really cool. There's a lot of potential there. But it's funny, I showed them to my dad. They're really cool. And I guess I'll put them on. You can't even tell you have glasses on. And there's a camera in there, and I can say, oh, hey, Meta, take a picture. Hey, Meta, tell me what I'm looking at. Hey, Meta, all this stuff. And it's going to echo back to me. It's really cool. But my dad, he's like, I don't know, 55, couldn't figure out a real use case for it.
To continue, make sure it's connected.
It's funny. It tried to talk to me. But yeah, it can take pictures, it can take videos. Well, that's not that useful. You have a phone, and the camera in your phone's a lot better. And then I told him about my world, the world I envision where you show up at your clinic and you put these on, and you don't have to touch a computer, right? What are you using your computer for in your EMR? You're seeing your schedule, maybe you're gonna look at some old notes, stuff like that, right? You're gonna have to do your notes for today's visit. Maybe you're gonna Google or use chat to get some clinical insights. Imagine if you had that same level of intelligence and usability piped into your glasses. So yeah, you show up and you say, who's my next patient? Tell me more about them. Is there anything I need to know about their history? Is there anything I should know not to do with them? How are they doing in their HEP? Are there any range of motion exercises that they did at home that they're not progressing properly? Okay, how is my billing, right? Should I do anything different in today's visit so I can code for more? Oh yeah, make it functional. You can bill Therax rather than Therax. And then my dad was like, oh, that's cool. Like I actually see the use case now. And I'm like, yeah. I think these are a platform on which a lot of things will get built. In the same way that the iPhone was a cool tool, independent, it's like, okay, what can you do with it? My dad was like, oh, that's for creatives. But then they had the App Store. And when they launched the App Store, then you had all these developers building on their platform. And that's when the iPhone really took off. It was with the App Store on iOS 3. Now everybody wants an iPhone because they have the best apps. BlackBerry didn't recover from that. They were late to the game, and bye-bye BlackBerry. So I think the glasses are the next iteration, right? How do we make computers as transparent as possible, right? We spend so many hours doom scrolling. I think it's horrendous. I don't know. I partake in it, but I think it's horrendous. But what's the next thing, right? How do you spend more time with people and less time on a screen? And I like the voice. And yeah, I also have some glasses out there that have a monitor in your glasses as well. And I think that would be really cool to overlay on a person their exoskeleton that shows range of motion measurements, right? Imagine if you didn't have to add that goniometer. Imagine if you were able to get your gait measurements all in real time. So that's just a glimpse at what I think the future is. But before I show that off, because yeah, we have that built, I'm excited to show it to you guys today. Before I show that off, I'm going to talk to you more about what you can do today with something like ChatGPT. I'm going to buzz through this, but I'll have Chris come down in a minute. There's stuff like differential diagnosis, right? I think I saw early on with Chat, there was some crazy case that they were doing in like an ER or something. They couldn't figure it out. And all of a sudden, they were able to use Chat to brainstorm with the doctor, right? Not independent of, but with the doctor, to spur a creative thought in him that he wouldn't have thought about for the correct diagnosis. And he was able to walk him through what tests he had to perform to rule out certain things. And together with Chat, they were able to figure out what the appropriate diagnosis was. Now, it's wrong a lot. And so you really have to be a doctor and use your clinical thinking to know when it's right and when it's wrong. It's really good at being 80% right, but you have to know the other 20% about when it's wrong. So it's really a tool. It's a force multiplier, specifically for differential diagnosis, like I said, but in a bunch of other ways, right? How hard is it to summarize a visit in non-clinical terms, right? You guys think very clinically. Imagine if you have a 10-year-old kid or a 6-year-old kid. Sometimes it's hard to dumb it down enough for them to understand. And so imagine if you could use a tool like Chat to summarize the visit for them, a patient-facing summary. And you can do that, right? I talked a little bit yesterday about HIPAA and Chat and how you can't feed PHI into ChatGPT. You can with our tool, which we will show today, but you can do anything I'm about to show you in our tool in ChatGPT. Just remove the PHI. Don't say patient name. Don't say date of birth. Be somewhat more vague. But you can really get a lot of value in this free tool called Chat. You can do a visit summarization for a 6-year-old. The other thing that's really cool is treatment plans. Yes, I mean, it's one thing to just kind of go to your library and give somebody a boilerplate treatment plan. I know Chris talks about his time at the mills and how, yeah, everybody's getting the same exact care over and over and over again. And it's not specialized at all. They're sending everybody with, I don't know, shoulder pain home with the same exercises. That's tough. Imagine if it was individualized to every person. Something like Chat could help you generate that. You give them the tools they have at home. Say they have bands and weights at home. Go make the perfect exercise plan for them. And yeah, it's building on stuff that you've done. You feed it maybe 2 or 3 or 4 that you've done in the past with varying ranges of abilities and various ranges of tools they have at home. And it's going to create a treatment plan specifically for them using what they have at home so they can get the most out of their rehab and get better as quickly as possible. The other thing that a tool like Comprehend will help you with is being more hands-on, and the glasses especially so. Imagine that world where, yeah, the entire time you're staring directly at your patient, and it's just listening in the background, taking care of everything so you don't have to. In addition, you can get real-time feedback, so I'll show that off, but Comprehend is going to give you that more real-time stuff because you don't have to worry about PHI. Tools give us leverage. Tools are a big part of the world ahead, and without the tools, we just have this fancy technology. But when you really build it into a workflow and understand how you guys are working and operating today and how can we supercharge that, that's when these technologies really start to get important and useful. Because yeah, large language models are neat, but until they're integrated with your EMR and they know what APTA recommends or CMS recommends or what the billing codes are appropriate, they're not useful. And so it's really once you have these tools that are supercharged with AI that they become interesting. Other things that it can do, they announced this thing called deep research, where I know in the early days, so this is a funny example. For legal specifically, there was a lawyer who was using ChatGPT to put together arguments. And ChatGPT went and made up a bunch of sources. And nobody really noticed for a little while until somebody went to fact check this lawyer and all of his references. And they're like, this guy is making this all up. Like, yeah, these look legit, but they're all fake. And so, yeah, he lost his license. He lost his job. But stuff like that, you got to be careful about. Now, that specific use case of this deep research has been fine-tuned and actually made really good. So now ChatGPT has this deep research feature where I can go, and it's going to go and search the internet. And it's going to come up with 30 different sources and summarize all of it. And it's going to write you an 18-page paper. I don't want to read an 18-page paper, but I can summarize that down into a 2-page paper. And I'm going to have the research from 30 different sources about how to best fix frozen shoulder for the trailing 18 months worth of data. That's cool. I know you're all trying to help people get better. It's hard to stay up to date. But if we have tools like this to summarize the relevant research, tell you what's changed recently, and really give you the most applicable guidance, that's useful, right? It's hard to stay up to date, and I totally understand that. The other thing that gets really cool as you start to centralize healthcare data is you get to analyze all of it all at once. Imagine if you had an entire patient's medical history and you could feed that into your mind and you had the time and resources to go and spend a full day looking at their entire history. What would that mean for their outcomes, right? You can see they've already come back 3 times to 3 different PTs with shoulder pain. You can see what they've already done that hasn't worked, and you can adapt accordingly. That's the world that we're starting to get into, the central healthcare system that has all the data. Really cool stuff ahead. Really excited about where we're going. I talked a little bit about visit summarization. That's really cool, but it also helps for continuity of care. So I know a lot of clinics have their DPTs doing their evals, and that's the main thing, right? DPTs do evals, and then PTAs are doing the daily notes. I totally understand why, I get it. But continuity of care, right? I go in and I'm a PTA, I have to go and read the whole note that a DPT did, and I'm rushing around, I'm seeing 12 patients a day, it's tough for me to read all of that. Imagine if at the click of a button they got a 2-sentence summary of the eval. And they're actually able to remember something personal from that first visit. Yeah, Chris is a Bills fan, right? Make a personal connection. I think Joey had said something like that, or maybe it was Robbie, about making that connection with the people. That's so much of what PT is. It's understanding people, getting them bought in, getting them liking you, making that personal connection. And we really just want to see the tools used to do more of that. Not replace people, but supercharge you. I've talked a little bit about that AI tailored care, right? So it's how do we make it individualized for you? Make it specifically to this patient. Don't make it a bunch of other stuff. Make it specific for this patient. And there's a lot of cool home exercise programs that are doing that. They make it easy to personalize the care for them. And based on how they performed in their first session of home exercises, it's going to change and adapt for them. And it's going to increase their sets and reps for them. It's pretty cool. And it's going to be personalized to them. What tools do they have at home? Do they have bands? Do they have weights? How can we make it most applicable? A lot of cool HEP programs that are using AI for stuff like that. And I totally love that, because it's hard for you to go and spend the time to make a great HEP specific for every single patient. It's a lot easier to just copy and paste from a template at the quality of care, yes, at the cost of quality of care, but what if you could have something that just spits it out and does it for you? Also, goals. I know a lot of times people have boilerplate goals for insurance. I totally get it, right? They need to be fully compliant goals, but it's easy to copy and paste. It's a whole lot harder to make them personalized. And that's what we're trying to do with the AI stuff. And then the last part that AI is being used in healthcare and PT and stuff is this movement tracking. Imagine, right, the goniometer. Accuracy on that's probably got to be terrible, right? And so that's kind of what I'm thinking about as we're designing the glasses and how they're going to work. Like, which cameras is it using? How are you looking at it? Are you looking at it from the side? Are you looking at it head on? Like, track my range of motion from that. No shot. It's going to be terrible. So those are kind of things that we're going to have to overcome and understand as we move forward. But there's a whole lot of potential if we can crack that code. The other thing that I've seen a lot of cool sensor technologies do is they can track your gait, and they can understand, are you biasing to one side? Like, yes, you have a knee, something's wrong with your knee, and so you're hobbling a little bit. This objective data, say they're doing it at home, and it's capturing all of that. That objective data that you're getting at home can get people in sooner if they're in massive fall risk, and it can help you just be a better PT and understand their progression. Are they going as fast as they should be? Are they not doing their exercises at all? Imagine if all that's done right on their phone at home. Really excited about what that means for the future. So I've talked about a bunch of stuff, and it's cool, and it's in theory or whatever, but I'm going to have Chris come on down, and he's going to show you how you can do stuff like this in ChatGPT today. Welcome, Chris. You're going to be on here, microphone, if you want it here. I think it's on. Maybe not. This is Chris. Chris, give a quick bio.
All right, so I am a PT. I'm mostly up here because Jake does not know anything about PT lingo.
As you might already have noticed with some of my goniometer or whatever.
His shoulder external rotation is usually 190 degrees. It's usually pretty bad.
Yeah.
So what I want to show you is something I actually use a lot still. So I still treat a little bit. I have a cash practice that I treat out of. I use the chat feature that we have pretty much every day. Summary visits, so I treat a lot of golfers, and some of them are younger high school kids. Parents always want to know, what'd you do with the kids? The summarize visit that we have is something that really makes it easy for me to just copy paste over into an email, send it to their parents, and now my entire evaluation I did with somebody is summarized within a few sentences, and I could shoot it over to the parent. We'll show you some of the other stuff we have too, but really what we do, hit the plus sign, starts a new note, hit record, and you go through your session. Evals, I let it run the whole time. It's picking up everything I'm talking about with the patient. We're looking at range of motion, anything we need. Anything we need to talk about, we can. It's going to listen to everything in the background. For the sake of this, I'll do what we call a brain dump, something that I do as my patient leaves. 60 seconds worth of information, gives it everything it needs to write the note. So if Jake just walked out the door, I could say Jake had 2 out of 10 shoulder pain today. He was able to do his home exercise program with no pain over the weekend. We looked range of motion, right shoulder flexion was 150 degrees, right shoulder external rotation was 70 degrees. After manual therapy, improved to 78 degrees of external rotation. We did glenohumeral joint mobilizations to the right shoulder and subscap release, and then he did suitcase carries, 20-pound dumbbell, 3 sets, 10 steps. You could run through all your different exercises you have quickly, and then I would just say, we're gonna see him twice a week, next 2 weeks. Enough information for the AI to know what I did that session. Audio gets uploaded. Audio gets deleted right away, keeps everything HIPAA compliant. You could always check back in the transcript to see what was said, and then in real time, all I have to do is hit the comprehend button, and everything just gets written for me. Wi-Fi's a little slow right now.
Yeah, taking its time.
Sharing our screen. This is something where once the note is written, I can then use the chat feature, and I'll show you some of the features that Jake talked about earlier. So, comprehends a note. It's going to write into each section. I didn't have to specify this is an objective measure, this is what I want in assessment. It's going to intuitively know, based on what we said, where everything goes. So, subjective info, objective, assessment, plan, and writes me some goals.
This is our bread and butter. This is what we do well. Now, you can't necessarily do that with chat, but we have our own chat built in that's fully HIPAA compliant. This is the stuff that you can do within ChatGPT. So whatever Chris is about to show you is very much what you can do in ChatGPT without a tool like Comprehend.
Anybody here still a CI? Take any students? So this is something that people love for their students. They have their real-time ChatGPT to help them as you are educating them on what is a differential diagnosis for this patient. So if Jake came in and his pain didn't improve at all, the exercise we're doing isn't helping, the AI will look at what you said throughout that session and be able to spit out differential diagnosis for this patient. So now you might be able to say, hey, are you thinking maybe it's a labrum issue and not a rotator cuff issue? Maybe change your plan of care. Gives you ideas of what it could be. It'll give you justification for why it might be that. And the more information you give it, the better it is. So for the sake of the demo, I just did a quick brain dump, but it still was able to come up with stuff like this.
And if you ever wanted to ask follow-on questions about a specific one, like what test should I perform to rule these things out, you can just ask follow-on questions as though it were a human, right? Everybody's like, oh, I don't know how to talk to AI. Talk to it like it's a human. Talk to it like it's a student that you're trying to help, and maybe they know some stuff from a textbook. Talk to it like it's a human, and it'll guide you. It'll get you where you want it to go. In this case, Chris is going to ask a custom question. We have these boilerplate ones there, but that's his question here.
Jake, do you know what CPG means?
It's like CPT, right? CPT guy.
So clinical practical guidelines. This is something that you can do for any body part, and it's going to scour the internet. So the way ours helps the most is it's very specific to therapy. You do ChatGPT, it's going to look at everything, pull everything in, where it's going to know you're a physical therapist, you've been treating a patient for shoulder pain, it's going to give you ideas you can do based on the guidelines that are already into the internet for therapy.
Yeah.
Lots of different features. With that said, the glasses that we show off a little later really do show what the future is.
Yeah. Do summarization for a 6-year-old. Ooh, 66-year-old. Giving us grief. It's calling me out for not being a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So it is nice that it won't make anything up.
Yeah, that's another thing you should know about this. There's this term called hallucinations. It's a technical term for when AI decides it's going to make things up. We never want AI to make things up. That's bad. That's really, really bad. So instead, we had built a model that won't make things up. It has to have the ability to be like, oh, you didn't say range of motion measurement, so I can't put it in there. There always has to be this out for like, hey, it's not included, versus sometimes ChatGPT will hallucinate things and make it up. That's like the lawyer thing, where it makes these references out of thin air, even though they don't exist. All right, so what are some risks, some things we have to consider along the way? I've talked a lot about hallucinations, but HIPAA, right? You need to make sure you're within regulation. For our stuff like us, we have to be fully HIPAA compliant. We host all of our code on Amazon HIPAA servers. And so that data is never shared across accounts. That data is not trained on again for the future. It's very much as though we have this model that we built for PT, it spits something out, and then we delete that version of the model. We're not continuing to train on that data. That's a really important part. There's a lot of other cool opportunities to use AI for drug discovery and in a diagnostic age and ChatGPT and Comprehend. I've talked a lot about chat, and I think it's the best tool ever. Everybody should use it. If you haven't ever used it, just say hi, and it will reply and say, hi, I'm Chat, how can I help? Really chipper. There's also this thing called fine-tuning, where you can take a normal model that can be used for anything and make it really specific. And you can make it specifically for physical therapy. You give it some extra data around physical therapy, and you're able to get a hyper-tuned version of chat for a specific thing. There is a lot of bias in AI, and so some funny examples are in the early days of image generation. A lot of the images were kind of all over. So Google flipped it, and it had all these different images that were created, and some of them were derogatory, and people didn't like that, and I understand why. It was like mixing things from different eras of time, and I think you could ask for, I'm gonna make some terrible reference, so I'm not even gonna make things up, but it was like, give me a golden retriever, and it was biased in such a way where it wasn't gonna do it. It would like deny a golden retriever or make a golden retriever into like a black lab or something. And it's like, why is it doing that? And so they've been able to bake things like that out. And so now the image generation models are a lot better. Another cool thing about the image generation models, they couldn't do text for a very long time. You try to make them do text and it would just be gobbledygook, or there would be an extra O and it wouldn't know grammar in the text model. Kind of interesting. Other cool things about those image models are they're terrible with fingers. For some reason, they cannot crack fingers. If you ever look very closely at AI images, they'll have the wrong number of fingers. There'll be 6, there'll be 3, there'll be 2. Arms will get crossed, and then on the other side of the cross, there'll be 3 arms. Very interesting. Let's see if anybody's weird over here. I think this one's actually decent. By the way, all of my photos are AI generated, so keep that in mind. Maybe you spotted it earlier, but yeah, very much AI generated images. Eyes are also really whack too. They can't do eyes well. Okay, other things we need to know. Where is the data coming from? In a lot of cases, it's just this black box. You ask for something, it gives you something out. It doesn't really know where that came from. Maybe it's pulling from a random Reddit post, and that's why it's saying it. There was this one example where if you Googled, how do I get cheese to stick to a pizza? Google's AI would say, use Elmer's glue. Where did it get that? There was a derogatory post on Reddit where someone said to do that as a joke, and now Google is regurgitating it. Okay. There's not really any sort of accountability or traceability for where this came from. They're trying to fix it, and they're getting there, but things like that are really whack, really whack. Another thing as far as ethics go is where is the data sourced from, and are they getting credit? And so a lot of times, coding models have been trained on the internet, and there's this website called Stack Overflow where every developer used to go to get their questions answered. They would ask, and then someone would go along and they would answer it for them. And then that person who had answered it would get credit. And now, eventually, whoever answered the most questions could get a job based on how their Stack Overflow rating was. How many upvotes do they have on the answers they've made? ChatGPT crawled all of that, and now you just go to chat and ask it a coding question, and it spits something out. In reality, the original owner of the one that answered that question doesn't get credit anymore. In addition, Stack Overflow doesn't get ad revenue anymore. What happens when it crawls the Wall Street Journal and it's regurgitating that information? Now you don't need a Wall Street Journal subscription. A lot of ethical things going on there that government will figure out, and they'll decide how they want to handle it, but it's something to be considered. Another interesting stat, 60% of the internet, I want to say this was last year actually, 60% of the internet was written by AI last year. They expect 90% of the internet to be written by AI by 2026. Totally believe it. All of my comments on any of my Instagram posts are written by AI. All of my blogs are written by AI. all of it. Snap my fingers and it's just done. It's going to write something way better than I would have. And it's so interesting to see it in healthcare, but more in school and how schools are handling it. They're trying to just shut it off and say, no, you cannot use the tool at all. It's just all illegal. If it gets flagged as AI, you're going to get an F. Interesting take, but we'll see how that pans out for academia and where the future of academia is. There's already a lot of dependency on AI for Jake as a coder, for teams of people that are using it like Comprehend or Chat. Like, imagine if we took Chat away tomorrow. Who would be upset? Let's get some hands. All right, we got a bunch. Who wouldn't be upset if they lost access to Chat? Yeah, I asked the inverse. Good answer. All right. I think we got a few people that are indifferent in the audience, which I find interesting. I am so dependent on it. I use it every single day, and it's hard because if I fly and I don't have internet, all of a sudden I can't work. And I used to love working on planes because I had full focus. I was disconnected, nobody could email me, and I could just work. Now I can't work on planes because I need internet. And now I pay $6 for internet. What a bummer. Understanding nuances of human language and whatnot, it is getting so much better, but in the early days it couldn't grasp sarcasm. It was the funniest thing because you'd say something sarcastic to it and it would give you like a very legitimate response. It's like, oh, okay. Now it actually gets sarcasm and it can be more sassy than we are, which is crazy. Talked about hallucinations a bit, and yeah. We have our Terminator world on the right, and we have, I don't know, the Lorax on the left. Hard to say, but this one was also AI generated. Who's heard of the grandma and grandpas that get called by somebody and they say, hey, Jake's in jail, send $10,000 in cash to this address, right? And people do it sometimes. And they're like, well, let me talk to Jake. No, he's in jail, you can't talk to him. You need to send $10,000 today or else. And they get people on that. And it's so sad to see people getting scammed out of money like that. Well, imagine if I can make an AI bot that's cloned off of my own voice, sounds just like me. And I can say, hey, Graham, like, I'm in jail, I need you to send this money to this address, and it sounds like me. It's gonna know a lot about my social media, so it's gonna have knowledge about me. Think about how many people could get scammed in that way. That's really scary to think about. That's really scary. These scammers are gonna get pretty good, and it's terrible to think about. Hacking. I mean, hackers already go around stealing data right now. It's just gonna get worse. I mean, my ability to code for good has 10x'd. Imagine all the hackers' ability to code for bad. That's very scary to think about how it could be misused. The other thing is, when it makes a mistake, who's getting caught? Who's checking? Who's fact-checking this stuff, right? Like that lawyer, who's fact-checking him? Well, his opponent, hopefully. But we want that stuff to get caught earlier. So who is really understanding and accounting for that? And who's going to go to jail if it's wrong or messes up? It's scary to think about who's going to go where when things go bad. And then, of course, an over-reliance. I don't really know any way around this one, but it's what if the internet went down? Is your practice able to operate? I don't know. Hopefully you have some backups in place to make it okay, but that kind of sucks. But we're just leaning into technology more and more, and that's the price we will pay if we want to go faster and use these tools. There was a world when there was just paper. I'm sure a lot of you remember when you did documentation on paper. I don't, but I'm sure a lot of you do. Interesting time that we're in now. Internet goes down or EMR goes down, and all of a sudden your clinic's SOL. You learn to work with it, which is great. Like I've talked about, the vision. Imagine a world where you could see with the AI, and it's going to capture range of motion. It's going to capture the gait, all from your glasses. That's a cool world ahead. But I always think there's a world where physical therapists want to be talked to by a person, right? You're never going to want, as a patient, an AI robot manipulating my arm. They tweak it just wrong, and all of a sudden my arm is ripped off. I don't think that world's ever going to happen. In addition, the empathy that you guys can give. Like, think about how much of patient care is the ability to empathize with your patients and be liked by your patient. That's a huge part of it. All right, this is the fun part. So we've built these glasses in such a way where they can be used for the stuff that I teased earlier, and I'm really excited to show it off and share with you all today. So I will ask Chris down once again, and he's going to do a sample evaluation on me. Let's see if I can set these bad boys up. Put those on. Switch this over here. Live demos are always scary, by the way. Yeah. So as you can see, here's, 1%. That sounds like a bad thing. Let's hope it doesn't die. Just in time. All right, our favorite EMR, Empower. And then here's our Chrome extension integration. You're good, Sharif. I mean, it's all loaded. You're good to go. Okay. Let's see if we have audio piping. Is this going to mess things up? Not that. If I say something, that'll reverb. This is going to be fun.
It's a good thing you're a tech guy.
I know. All right, that's there. Let's see. Can I? Not yet. Normally, you'd pipe audio directly into the glasses, and so your patients aren't going to hear what the AI is saying, but for the sake of this demo, I'm going to have everything go to the speakers if I can.
Should I hold this next to my head?
Say comprehend.
Hey, comprehend.
Computer died. That's fun. Let's take a short intermission, and we will be back in 5 minutes. Feel free to jump to the bathroom if you gotta. This is now the cool part, where we get to enjoy the future of physical therapy. You get a preview. Now, I want everybody to keep this in mind. This is very much like pre-beta, right? This is what we think the world will look like. We've pieced together something that's really, really cool, and it took a lot of time and effort and sleepless nights to even get this. And it's only gonna get better, but this is just a preview of what the world can look like. So, without further ado, Chris has the glasses, and he can say all sorts of stuff, but I'll let him take it from here.
Hey, comprehend. What can you do?
I can help you manage patient visits, pull up your next patient, provide key insights, start a new visit, complete your notes, observe range of motion values, and review your chart before finalizing.
Who's my next patient?
Your next patient is Jake.
Tell me a bit about him.
Jake is coming in for rehab on a torn rotator cuff. This is his 4th visit in a 10-week track.
Start my visit.
All right, let's do it.
All right, Jake, tell me a little bit about what's going on.
I'm sorry, but I can't capture the patient's spoken input directly.
Live demo.
You can take notes during your conversation, and I can assist with documentation or any other needs during the visit.
All right. It's doing well. You know, the shoulder hurts a little bit. Probably about a 6 out of 10 right now. I'm working on getting it better and stuff, but yeah, I was hoping you can help me out.
Okay, out of 10, what do you say your pain is right now?
Definitely about a 6 right now. I think at best it's probably around a 2 or a 3, and then at worst it can get up to an 8.
Okay, let's take a look at your range of motion. Raise that right arm up in front of you as far as you can.
You see how I turn so that I can make sure it gets this?
Good.
Because that's a lot harder.
And then turn towards me.
Yep.
Go arm out to your side. How far can you rotate back?
It's kind of limited.
Okay, how about down?
Not too bad there.
Okay, how about the left arm? How far can you raise that one up?
That one's good. Don't mind my sweat stains.
Yeah. How about your rotation on that one?
Pretty prime.
Okay, so hold my microphone.
Yep.
Other hand. Okay. So now I'm going to move your arm around. Let me know if you have any pain.
Sure. Ooh, that's a little tough. Yeah. Cut it out, Chris. Don't hurt me.
Okay. So, Jake, we're going to see you probably twice a week, next 4 weeks or so. Keep working on your range of motion and strength.
All right, sounds like a plan. Thanks, Chris.
Hey, Comprehend. Hey, Comprehend. Finish my note.
You'll see in just a few seconds. Thanks to our handy-dandy note and Empower, everything just starts popping up. So in this case, we have our chief complaint, right shoulder pain, we have our objective assessment plan, did our coding. Chris, why don't you ask about coding?
Hey, Comprehend. What else can I bill?
It looks like you're about to bill therapeutic exercise. If you make it more functional, you can bill therapeutic activities, which typically reimburses better and aligns with your practice's policy.
You like that one? Let's go. And Chris didn't have to lift a finger. He didn't even touch his EMR. He didn't touch Empower. It all just happened for you. It captured those range of motion measurements. It captured those pain values. And it was all just done for you at the hey, comprehend of a voice or whatever, the snap of a finger. So we're super excited about what this means for healthcare and in general, like the world, right? A world of transparency where you get to see, you're not touching a computer, not hands on a keyboard, you're with your patient, spending as much time as possible with them directly. Yeah, that's it. Anything else you want to add, Chris?
No, I mean, right now the glasses are great, but our normal software does everything we just showed. I use it every day. We have thousands of people that use it now too. I do have to say, my patients love that I use it. I get quite a few Google reviews about how I spent all my time with them, didn't look at my computer once. Like, people like that now. Your 7 minutes with a doctor where 5 of it's them documenting is kind of over.
Heck yeah. Well, thanks so much, guys. That's what we wanted to share. And if you have questions, comments, concerns, we're here for it. Really excited what this means. This will be going into beta in Q3, and then hopefully a full launch at PPS this year. So that's it. Thanks so much, guys. Oh, yeah, we have QA. We'll get to the QA. All right. You want to moderate the QA? He had a question.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, so consent's so interesting. He asked, do you have to get consent from your patient if you're recording them? Great question. And depending on what state you're in, we'll determine that. So for instance, in New York, where I'm from, it's a one-party consent state. Only one person has to know they're being recorded. So technically, you don't have to tell your patient. With that said, we recommend all of our clinicians ask their patient to say, hey, I'm using this new tool. It's going to help me focus more on you. I'm not going to be hands on a keyboard, talking to you, talking to my computer, back and forth. Instead, I'm going to be spending my entire attention with you. Is it okay if I use this new tool? By the way, it's going to save me a lot of time. As long as you verb it like you're going to make better care for them, people don't have a problem with it. But in some states, it's a two-party consent state where you do have to ask. We do have consent forms if you want to, we'll send them to you. But yeah, that's usually what we do. Any more questions? So mine are transitions, and they're fully clear, but you can get prescription. And there's different frames, different colors, all of it. The Meta Ray-Bans in themselves are really cool. Like, yeah, Chris had the Wayfarers on. I have a different pair in the back that I like. But they can take pictures. They can tell you what you're looking at. How useful is that? I don't know. My dad kind of agrees. It's not that useful to take pictures and videos. Whip your phone out. But something like that, where you don't have to touch a computer, and you can get all this clear. Right, the heads-up display is really cool too. We have another pair in my suitcase or in my bag that has the heads-up display, and so it will overlay the range of motion on a person, and so you can just see it in real time, like what is their range of motion based on how it's viewed. Yeah, so that stuff's very in beta, and so some of you probably have heard of Google Glass. In like 2012, Google announced this thing that made you look like a cyborg, and it had this little holographic display up here and a camera. And people thought they were too goofy, so nobody wanted to wear it. And so Facebook's attempt at it now are how do we take regular glasses that look stylish, that look normal, that you can't tell the difference, and embed as much technology in there as possible, though you're going to trade off a lot of things. So all you have is a microphone, you have a camera, and you have a speaker. You don't have a heads-up display yet. The glasses that I have with the heads-up display are really bulky. They're really big, and they're like they look massive. You can probably pull them up.
I have used the glasses a couple times in clinic. I do treat a lot of golfers, so I usually video their swing at the end. The glasses that Jake has, you could tell it, record this, or take a video. And I could stand behind them, in front of them, and it's recording their whole swing, and it goes right to my computer. And I could use that to refer back to the next time they come in. I've used it for people with squatting. I would look in the front and on the side. We do some work on their hip, and next week I look, and now they can squat below parallel. I have the video from the glasses to refer back to. So they are useful already, but the actual range of motion stuff is still a little tough right now.
Yeah. These are the ones that have the heads-up display. So you can see this guy on the right. They're bulky. They're really, really big. And not a lot of people want to wear something like that. And so how much value can we add with something that people want to wear? They're excited that they get to wear Ray-Bans in their clinic. Versus something like this, it's like, I look goofy. I'm not going to wear this. So that's kind of what we contend with, right? We have these. We know it's coming. And the technology will continue to shrink so that they can go into glasses. But for now, this is what we have. It is actually expected that at the second half of the year, Meta's going to be announcing a heads-up display version in their normal ones, which we're really excited about. But the cost is something like $1,200. The current pair sells for $300. So can you really justify that value? I don't know. TBD. Do you have more questions? Yeah.
I haven't really used ChatGPT at all, but you were talking about the hallucinations and it making up information. Is it convincing, and how difficult is it to suss out the real information from the fake information?
Yeah, it's very confident. That's the problem. It's very confident. You can get it to say just about whatever you want it to, and it's going to say it with conviction, and it's going to sound right. And the references it's going to make for you for some lawyer are really convincing. And at first pass, even at second pass, even if you went and looked up that article, you're going to find it. But it's going to include a link, and if you click on that link, it's going to take you to nowhere. So it's very hard to tell what's fake and what's real, what's hallucinated and what's real. So that's why tools like this deep research, where it's like, here, click this link, and we're going to call out the specific phrase that we pulled from this article from APTA. That's where it gets really, really useful. But you do have to watch out. And at the end of the day, your license is on the line. And so use your clinical insights. Hopefully it's spurring something in you, not necessarily creating something that's like, oh, yeah. It's something that you could have thought of. It's going to spur something in your mind to, staring at a blank page is very difficult to get started. The first sentence is the hardest. It's going to write the first sentence for you. You're going to write the rest of it and then delete that first sentence because it was bad. It's that kind of thing, except maybe it'll be more useful than that. Yeah, less of source of truth, more about spurring creativity. Yeah. Great question. Shoot.
Does consent have to be verbal, or does it have to be verbal?
It can be slipped into your normal consent forms, and they don't even know. Yes. Still recommend, hey, I'm using this tool. They'll probably notice. I mean, if you have a recording device, sometimes they won't. They don't have to notice. But yeah, we do written consent generally if it's required. California is one where it's two-party consent, so we put that in everybody's consent forms. I think Florida is too, which is surprising.
Almost everybody, they have in their consent forms, electronically, they have it. A lot of people have it on the wall in their lobby. We use Comprehend to listen and write our notes. And then I usually verbalize to my patients. I play it by ear. I do treat a lot of older men. They see AI and they think it's just Terminator. I usually give them a little benefit of the doubt. I'm like, all right, it's not. It's going to be fine. It's just going to write my notes for me.
Yeah.
I've never had anybody tell me no. But we do have some people that work in D.C. and people in government don't want any recordings. That's where a brain dump comes into play.
Yeah, the brain dump is super useful. In 2 minutes or 30 seconds even, I can get just enough for the AI to write this fully compliant note. It's trained on your old notes, so it knows all the filler verbiage that you're normally going to put in there. And yeah, 30 seconds is enough for me to write a compliant note. More questions? Questions? Right on. Thank you, everybody, for listening. It's been a great show. Super excited. And yeah, thank you so much for having us. Travis has some words he wants to share before we head out.
All right, first off, if you have a flight, then get out of here. But